You know that feeling, right? Like you're constantly playing defense online.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like a never-ending stream sometimes. New scams, new threats, always reacting.
Exactly, just putting up more walls. But what if we could actually flip the script on that?
Turn the tables, you mean?
Yeah,
Lure
sure.
the attackers in somehow.
Yes, exactly that. Learn their secrets, figure out what they're doing, but, safely, without putting anything real at risk.
That's precisely what we're diving into today, this fascinating world of AI-powered honeypots.
Honeypots, right.
But these aren't your simple traps. They're intelligent, evolving digital decoys designed specifically to ensnare and analyze malicious actors.
So our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack how these intelligent systems actually work.
Yeah, and why they're such a game changer in cybersecurity now. What it means for all of us, really.
And we've pulled insights for you from some really interesting places. There's a major Australian bank doing something new.
Cybersecurity firms, academic research too, a good mix.
Definitely. So get ready, because this might change how you think about cyber defense. Okay, so let's start with the basics. This term, honeypot, it sounds a bit sticky, intriguing anyway.
Yeah. Well, at its core, it's essentially a trap.
Trap, okay.
Traditionally, a honeypot is a system, maybe a network segment, that's deliberately designed to attract cyber attackers.
Why? What's the point of attracting them?
The main purpose is to get them to interact with it. That way, security teams can watch them, study their behavior, their strategies.
Okay. Without risking the real stuff, the actual valuable data or system.
Precisely. It's a controlled environment just for observation.
I'm trying to picture this. Maybe like, okay, imagine you draw a fake treasure map, leads to an empty chest, maybe some chocolate coins.
Okay.
You put it out there just to see who follows it, how they try to, find the treasure. That feels like a low interaction honeypot. Simulates something basic, shallow interaction.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. It fools basic scans, gets low-level interaction. But importantly, no real treasure is at risk.
Right. And then maybe you build a super detailed, realistic-looking clubhouse in the backyard. Games, snacks, the works. You let people in, but you're secretly watching everything they do. Do they follow the rules, try to sneak into places they shouldn't? That's like the high interaction version.
Exactly. It provides a much more realistic experience, allows for deep monitoring of their movements, their tools, their whole strategy.
But in both cases, the key is no real assets, nothing valuable is actually in danger.
That's the fundamental principle. And what's really fascinating now, what's changing the game, is AI.
How so?
Well, traditional honeypots, they're useful, but often static. Kind of predictable.
Attackers could spot them eventually.
Skilled ones, yes. They'd see a pattern, bypass it, avoid it. But AI breathes life into these decoys.
Makes them dynamic.
Dynamic, intelligent, adaptive. They can evolve, change their behavior. That makes them way harder to spot and much better fooling sophisticated attackers.
Yeah.
We're moving from a fixed trap to a living decoy.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, the inner workings. How do these AI honeypots actually do that, create these convincing fakes that can change on the fly?
It boils down to a few core AI technologies working together. First up, you've got generative AI.
Like the AI that creates images or text.
Exactly. But here, it's used to generate realistic, dynamic, almost human-like interactions in unpredictable digital environments. Things that mimic real networks, real services, even fake data that looks real. It constantly adapts.
Okay, so how does it generate that stuff?
Well, a key part is large language models, LLMs, like GPT or Gemini.
Right, the chatbot brains.
Kind of. They're fine-tuned on massive amounts of data network logs, system commands, even examples of attacker conversations and behaviors.
So they learn to talk like a server or a user.
With incredible fidelity, yeah. Using techniques like prompt engineering and fine-tuning, they can tailor responses for specific protocols. SSH for remote access, HTTP for web stuff, SMTP for email. They can even simulate specific vulnerabilities to look more attractive to attackers.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Then you have things like generative adversarial networks, or GANs. This is pretty clever.
GANs. I've heard of those for making fake faces.
Same principle. You have two neural networks competing. One, the generator, tries to create fake network environments, fake device setups, fake server responses. The other, the discriminator, tries to tell if it's fake or real.
So they push each other to get better.
Exactly. The generator gets incredibly good at making fakes that are almost indistinguishable from the real thing. This makes the honeypot environment super convincing.
Okay, so you've got generation. What about the learning part, making it adaptive?
That's where machine learning and reinforcement learning, RL, come in. The honeypot is constantly learning from every single interaction.
How does RL work here?
Think of it like this. The AI agent, the honeypot, tries different tactics to deceive the attacker. Based on whether the attacker stays engaged or bails, the AI gets feedback, positive or negative reinforcement. It learns what works, optimizing its realism and deception strategies over time.
So it gets better at tricking attackers the more it interacts with them.
Precisely. And this learning enables real-time adaptation.
Yeah.
It can change its behavior immediately based on what the attacker is doing. It might even predict their next move.
Predict? How?
By analyzing patterns in the current attack compared to patterns learned from past interactions and known attack methodologies. This helps prolong the engagement so we gather more intelligence.
And all this feeds into making the whole fake environment dynamic.
Yes, that's dynamic environment generation. The system can automatically create and tweak these simulated ecosystems, networks, servers, apps, tailoring them to mimic specific targets or just reacting to what the attacker does. Makes it incredibly hard to spot the decoy.
So let me see if I've got the flow. Attacker connects, try some commands maybe. The AI logs everything, analyzes the behavior instantly,
Right.
and uses these models you mentioned to figure out what the attacker might do next, and then changes its own responses to keep them hooked, like a digital chess game where the board keeps shifting.
That's a fantastic way to put it. It's exactly that dynamic, adaptive chess match that makes these AI honeypots so powerful.
Okay, let's ground this in the real world. You mentioned an Australian bank, Commonwealth Bank Australia.
Yes, CBA. They're doing some really interesting work with a company called Apate.ai. They're a concrete example of this strategy in action.
And their goal is pretty specific, right? Stopping phone scammers.
Exactly, stopping them from calling actual Australians. It's a major problem there, phone scams.
So how are they using AI honeypots for phone calls?
They're deploying thousands of AI-powered bot profiles. Each one is crafted with a unique identity, different genders, ages, tones of voice, even cultural nuances.
Wait, they're using Australian slang and humor too.
Apparently so, to make them sound incredibly realistic and hard for scammers to detect. These bots then answer calls on a huge network of dedicated phone numbers.
So the scammer thinks they're talking to a real person
That's the goal. The bot engages them, keeps them talking, wastes their time,
while gathering intelligence.
and disrupting their operations, all in near real time.
There's a great quote here from James Roberts, CBA's fraud manager. He said, "Every minute a scammer is engaging with a bot is less time they can be using to target Australians."
That perfectly captures the disruption aspect. Time is the scammer's most valuable asset. If you waste it, you hurt their business model.
And has it been working?
Seems so. The pilot started in late 2024, and they're reporting hundreds of thousands of scam calls diverted already.
Wow.
And the intel they gather leads to faster alerts and blocking of scam numbers. It's significant because phone scams apparently caused the biggest financial losses in Australia in 2024.
It's fascinating that the whole idea came from the Apate.ai CEO, Professor Dali Kafar, actually keeping a scammer on the phone himself for 40 minutes.
Yeah, just to waste their time.
Yeah.
He saw the potential to automate that, scale it up with chatbots, voice clones, make it multilingual,
Basically, scam the scammers, as he put it.
and dismantle their operations by making it totally unprofitable to even try.
So, stepping back a bit, what does all this mean for cybersecurity teams, for organizations listening out there? What are the big advantages of these AI honeypots? It sounds powerful.
The advantages are pretty significant, yeah. It's a real shift. First off, proactive threat detection.
Proactive, how so?
They can spot new attack methods way earlier, sometimes even at the reconnaissance stage before a full attack happens. That's a huge leap from just reacting after something's gone wrong.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Enhanced intelligence gathering. Because they're adaptive and interactive, they collect much richer, more detailed intel on attackers.
Like their specific tools and methods, their TTPs.
Exactly. Tactics, techniques, and procedures. And understanding those TTPs directly feeds into improved incident response. The insights help strengthen all defenses and make responses to real attacks much more effective.
That sounds logical. Does it help with the sheer volume of alerts security teams face?
Yes, definitely. Reduce false positives. The AI is better at distinguishing real threats from, background noise or benign activity. This cuts down on alert fatigue, which is a major issue.
I bet. Are there any stats on how effective they are?
Well, one study by the SANS Institute suggested honeypots could detect up to 80% of simulated attacks. That's significantly higher than traditional firewalls alone in that scenario.
80%. Wow. And what about managing these things? Does AI help there too?
It does. Scalability and efficiency. AI allows for automated generation and management. You don't need as much manual setup for each one.
So you can deploy them faster and more widely across different parts of the network.
Right. Enterprise networks, IoT devices, cloud environments, it's much more scalable. And ultimately, there's the cost effectiveness.
How so? Aren't they expensive to build?
They require investment, yes, but think about the cost of recovering from a major breach. Stopping attacks before they succeed is almost priceless in comparison.
That's a really strong case. But, no solution is perfect. There must be downsides, challenges. It can't be a silver bullet for everything, surely.
No, you're absolutely right to ask that. There are definitely challenges. For one, they can be resource intensive.
Meaning computing power, expertise.
Both. Developing and running sophisticated AI honeypots needs significant computational resources, and you need skilled people to manage them. It's not just plug and play.
Okay, what else?
There's always the risk of detection. Even with AI, really skilled, determined attackers might eventually figure out they're in a honeypot and just avoid it.
It's an arms race then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Both sides constantly evolving. Another point is their limited scope. A honeypot only catches attacks aimed directly at it. It might miss threats targeting other unprotected parts of the network.
So it's part of a bigger strategy, not the whole strategy.
Exactly. And then there are the ethical and legal questions.
Like deceiving people, even if they are attackers.
Precisely. Using AI to actively deceive raises questions about, the boundaries of ethical hacking, potential unintended consequences if something goes wrong, ensuring it's truly a controlled environment, and handling the data privacy of any information collected, even from attackers.
Okay, those are important considerations. Now, we've been talking about honeypots as this defensive tool, turning the tables on attackers. But the term honeypot also gets used in a much darker way, doesn't it? Where the individual, maybe someone listening, is the one getting trapped.
Yes, absolutely. That's a critical distinction. We see this malicious use of the honeypot idea frequently, especially in the crypto world.
Crypto scams, right. We saw a source, a Reddit post, someone saying, just found out I fell for a honeypot trap. How does that kind of trap work?
It's specifically about scam coins, scam tokens. The honeypot here is the scam token itself, designed purely to lure investors in and trap their money.
So how do they trap it?
Okay, the scammers create a new crypto token. They make it look legitimate, maybe give it a name or logo very similar to a real coin, like that Reddit user's example. They bought Apate.ai, thinking it was the real Hashai, because the logo was identical.
Sneaky. So you buy the coin, then what?
They allow you to buy it, that's key. But they've built something into the smart contract that's the code governing the token on the blockchain that prevents or makes it practically impossible for you, a regular user, to sell it later.
How can they do that? Block selling?
Several ways. They might whitelist only certain addresses, usually their own, allowing only them to sell. Or they could code in an insanely high sales tax, like 99% or 100%, so selling is pointless.
So your money goes in, but it can't come out?
Exactly. The goal isn't for you to hold their worthless token long term. Their goal is to get you and others to put real valuable crypto like Ethereum or Bitcoin into the liquidity pool when you buy their fake coin.
The liquidity pool. That's where the trading happens.
Sort of. It's a pot of funds that allows instant swaps. Once enough victims have put their real crypto into that pool, the scammers drain the pool. They take all the valuable crypto out.
Leaving the buyers with
worthless tokens they can't sell. The money's gone.
Wow. Are there other tricks they use?
Oh yeah. Sometimes they might briefly enable selling, then disable it again using complex transactions with high gas fees transaction costs to make sure their disabling action happens instantly. It creates confusion, makes it seem like selling is possible sometimes, but it's controlled.
So just to be crystal clear, the cybersecurity honeypots we talked about first are defensive tools used by organizations to trap attackers.
Correct. To gather intelligence and protect assets.
Whereas these crypto honeypots are malicious traps set by scammers to steal money from individuals.
A crucial difference. Same name, totally different, and in the second case, harmful. Purple.
Understood. Okay, bringing it back to the defensive side then. Looking ahead, what's the future for these AI-generated cybersecurity honeypots? Where is this technology heading?
The trajectory seems pretty clear. They're evolving towards becoming more autonomous, more self-optimizing.
Less human management needed.
Potentially, yes. The market itself reflects this present. Projections show the cybersecurity honeypot market more than doubling by 2030. There's huge demand for more proactive defenses.
So it's really about that shift we discussed, from reacting to proactively engaging threats.
Exactly. Anticipating attacker TTPs before they're even widely used, we'll likely see much greater integration and scale too.
How so?
Technologies like federated learning, where multiple honeypots can learn from each other without sharing raw sensitive data, multi-agent systems coordinating deception across networks. We can see thousands of unique adaptive decoy assets spread across an organization's entire digital footprint.
Covering everything from finance systems to healthcare records to critical infrastructure control systems.
That's the vision. And Professor Kafar, the Apate.ai CEO, he painted this interesting picture, called it the ultimate meta scenario. Imagine a future where scam chatbots created by criminals end up just talking to scam-defending chatbots run by, say, phone companies or banks.
So the AI bots just waste each other's time and never get through to actual people.
That's the idea. He calls that a big win. It fundamentally breaks the scammer's business model if they can't reach victims.
That's quite a thought. Which kind of brings us to a final, maybe more philosophical point here.
Okay.
As AI gets incredibly good at generating these convincing realities, whether it's a honeypot deceiving an attacker or a scam deceiving a victim, how does that change our basic understanding of what's real and what's simulated online?
That's a deep question. The lines are definitely blurring.
And how do we, just as individuals navigating the internet, learn to deal with a world where even a simple online chat or a phone call might be with an AI specifically designed to fool us or outsmart us?
It really speaks to the need for a new level of digital literacy, doesn't it? Being constantly aware, constantly questioning.
It does. It feels like a whole new dimension to that ongoing digital arms race, something for all of us to think about.